How's it going, my friends? So it's a Sunday evening here. Baruch Hashem, I have some privacy, so I can talk to you guys for a little bit. Wow. So I read a very interesting book over Shabbat. I mean, I didn't read the whole book. I started reading it. The book is called Dispelling Watiko, Breaking the Curse of Evil. It's an interesting cover, right, guys? For those of you guys don't know what Wetiko is, or Watiko, I'll read you the definition. It has a different name depending on who you ask. So basically, it is actually a just one second. It's actually a Native American concept. The peoples of, I guess, Canada. So one second, guys, get pop-ups here. The people of Canada, the native, it says Native Americans of Canada. So this is just the kind of description of the book. There's a contagious psychospiritual disease of the soul, a parasite of the mind that is currently being acted out en masse on the world stage via a collective psychosis of titanic proportions. Mind you guys, I just want to let you know, this book was written in 2013. About 8 years before any, you know what, okay? 7 years, sorry. For sure 8 years prior. This mind virus, which Native Americans have called Watiko, these are the indigenous peoples of Canada, covertly operates through the unconscious blind spots in the human psyche, rendering people oblivious to their own madness and compelling them to act against their own best interest. I'm going to read this to you guys again. This mind virus, which Native Americans have called Watiko, covertly operates through the unconscious blind spots in the human psyche, rendering people oblivious to their own madness and compelling them to act against their own best interests. Drawing insights on Jungian philosophy, or Jungian philosophy, however you pronounce that, shamanism, alchemy, spiritual wisdom traditions, and personal experience, author Paul Levy shows us that hidden within the venom of Watiko is its own antidote, which once recognized can help us wake up and bring sanity back to our society. My friends, so let's take a look at some of the stuff written in the beginning parts of this book, and we'll try to see if anything sounds familiar to us. Okay? Let's take a look. I'll tell you something. Something caught my eye while I started reading this book. Here he goes on to say, he says, it's a little, just so you guys know, the book itself is a little bit long-winded. Like he kind of, he could have made these points more succinctly, but I think it's okay. I'll read it. I'll read certain passages for you guys. We as a species are in the midst of a massive psychic epidemic. Guys, again, I'm reminding you, he wrote this in 2013. A virulent collective psychosis that has been brewing in the cauldron of humanity's psyche from the beginning of time. Like a fractal, Watiko operates on multiple dimensions simultaneously. Intrapersonal within individuals, inside of a person, interpersonally among ourselves, between people, and collectively as a species, right? As well as a transpersonally in a realm beyond our personal selves, right? Those afflicted with Watiko consume, like a cannibal, the life force of others, human and non-human, for private purpose or for profit, and do so without giving back something from their own lives. My friends, we see it before us. We're talking about certain companies, I'm not going to name them, or people that we know, right? One example that symbolizes our self-destructive collective madness is the oil company's destruction of the Amazon rainforest, the lungs of our planet. Okay, so he gets into kind of environmentalist stuff, okay? This is a full-body revelation showing us what we are doing to ourselves, right? So it's like, listen, guys, I'm no tree hugger, but I'll tell you something. Like, it's one of those things where humanity knows, right? We know that we already have, and this is something that I was involved in. You know, a member of my family was involved in alternative energy, whatever it is. We know for a fact that we already have certain sources of energy that enable us to, like, not burn fossil fuels and not burn, things that, like, ruin the environment. We know that. The only reason we're continuing to do these things is because it's just economically viable, and we're just kind of lazy. Like, honestly, we're just lazy, right? And I'm not saying we should, like, obliterate this and obliterate that. My solution is not AOC solution, right? My solution is not to build back better and all this crazy stuff and burn everything to the ground and stop using everything and just, live on the streets. My friends, my solution is to phase out of something slowly and phase into something that we already have. But in order to do that, my friends, certain people with certain interests have to be basically, you have to, how should I put this? There are certain interests, let's say even in the Middle East or wherever, Eastern Asia, wherever it is, that we're going to have to piss these people off. You know what I'm saying? So, and that's, guys, certain people that I know who are conservatives agree with what I'm saying, right? We're just not into the whole, again, the AOC idea of just basically scorched earth policy, right? Okay. He goes on. This is a full body. Okay. Another example that both literally and symbolically illustrates the Watiko complex in action is the Monsanto company's genetically engineering Terminator seeds that do not reproduce a second generation, thus forcing farmers to buy new seeds from Monsanto for each year's new crop. This makes survival impossible for many poor farmers, triggering a wave of suicides among them, while Monsanto goes richer from the process. My friends, again, you come up to the people that run these companies, and even today we see this. You talk to them, and they basically treat people. They don't even, like, it's almost like they've, and he'll explain this. What this is. They treat people like statistics, and they don't treat people like individual human beings, and there's a reason for that, okay? Here you go. In essence, genuine predators, full-blown Watikos, which can be an individual person or the person of a corporation, are not in touch with their own humanity, and therefore can't see the humanity in others. My friends, we are just numbers to them, okay? We're just numbers. See, my friend says, common sense has it that we must continue to produce the energy we're using now, and work. Wow, this is a long whole thing. Okay. And work to make it clean, safe to use. At the same time, we're developing alternative energy sources. But it seems to me that Big Daddy, the government, messes up most of what it tries to do. Even good projects as alternative fuel sources. They mess up. They're in pockets of certain interests that don't want these things to be, to exist. The full environmental cost of biofuels is only now becoming clear. Corn is the chief plant for biofuel in America. As the demand for corn and biofuel increases, so does the price of biofuel corn. Farmers who grow other crops are switching over to biofuel corn to cash in on this new oil well. At the same time, demand for biofuel. Okay, this is a whole situation here. Okay, understood. That's not even the point, right? Caesar says, are not in touch with their own humanity and therefore can see the humanity in others. Instead, they relate to others as either potential prey or as a threat to their dominance. My friends, either we are people who are, like, basically supposed to take certain things so that we basically leave this planet, so that, according to these people, we'll stop, polluting this planet, right? Because we won't be on this planet in order to pollute it. Or we are not to be heard. If we're speaking against them, we are not to be heard. We are to be called anti-something. We are to be basically deplatformed, right? Because why? Because we're a threat to them. We're a threat to their parnasah. We're a threat to their income, right? Even though as they go, the CEO of Schmeiser, Mr. Shmurla goes on, Lex Friedman the other day, and he goes, yeah, these people are saying misinformation so that they can profit from misinformation. I mean, guys, I don't know about anybody else. I don't know about some of these doctors. I don't, the ones that are speaking against. I don't know. I really don't know about anybody else. I haven't made a single solitary dollar or shekel or ruble or euro or anything from everything I've been saying for the past year and a half, guys. I full disclosure, you can check the books, I'm an open book here. I haven't made a dime. And for the person who's made $36 billion, whose company made $36 billion, to come and say that people are making money off of, or like a certain doctor who charges $250 for a consultation. Half of the people he even forgave the fee. I mean, God forbid a doctor make parnasa. Oh my God. Okay. He goes on to say, as if they are a different breed who is a more animal-like predator than ordinary human being, those who are fully taken over by the Watiko psychosis consume others' lives physically, emotionally, psychically, and metaphysically, just beyond the material body and physical possessions to the level of meaning itself. Watikos are the anti-artists of our culture, embodying the opposite of what creative artists do. Unlike an artist who creates life-enhancing meaning that enriches the world without robbing others, a Watiko takes and consumes without giving anything back, continually impoverishing the planet, draining it of its resources. These are anti-artists. These anti-artists are also averse to the open-ended freedom of true artistic creative expression, which they fear because it threatens their Watiko-driven world. My friends, again, these people are afraid of therapeutic treatments, other treatments that exist. They're going to badmouth. They're not even going to name it by name. They're going to say there's been no studies, even though there's been hardly any studies on their thing. I mean, there's been studies on the tech, but not for the particular thing that they're trying to solve. If anything, they're causing as many problems as they are solutions, which not really, because an entire, couple of universities who are fully, a bunch of people got the disease, and then they had to close down, and then they had to go and sit and learn remotely, my friends. And now you can blame, well, if it's only the people that took it fast enough, and it would have been gone, and we wouldn't have these things and stuff, and, the new versions, my friends. Virus gonna virus, okay? There's something called evolutionary pressure. When you're doing something too fast, you're making the thing that is trying to stay alive change its form so that it stays alive. It's a basic logic, guys. You don't need to be a scientist to understand this, okay? Here, okay. Now I want to get into the thing that is called, okay. Guys, just in case you guys are wondering, just like different cultures have a version of the Noah story, different cultures have basically different words for what Judaism, what the Torah, what the Kabbalah calls a Sitra Achra. This is essentially, my friends, it's not the Sitra Achra itself, it is a mechanism of the Sitra Achra. It is something that you see is a byproduct of the Sitra Achra, this Watiko situation. When people seem to be, listen, guys, you look at somebody like a Bennett. I'm looking into his eyes. The guy is basically I'm reading this whole thing. He's basically taken over by Watiko. He's in Watiko mode, right? See, it goes on to say, many of us can't fathom the level of evil to which full-blown Watikos have fallen prey, and of which they are capable, right? They seem like normal people. They have families, they have this, they have that. Like this guy Shmurla yesterday, they threatened my family, and somebody this, and they said I got arrested. They said this, they said my wife is this. He's basically trying to misdirect the conversation, and he's trying to discredit the people who are speaking against by saying that there's a couple of he's isolating the couple of kooks, right, the couple of wackies, the wackos, right, and basically just ignoring the legitimate conversation that there is to be had about the issues, right? He's just completely ignoring it. Okay. They have a distinct advantage if we don't recognize their predator-like nature. We can't possibly meet their challenge unless we clearly discern what we are up against. The old adage counsels us, it is important to know your enemy. The death of depravity being acted out is so dark, however, it induces in many a tendency to pretend that it isn't really happening. My friends, do you remember, if you ever read history about the last event that happened 80 years ago, people couldn't fathom the evil that they were living amongst. They couldn't fathom that certain people were in power, were so evil that they would go to these evil, horrible lengths to do certain things. And only after and even so, they had that trial, and the people who were, the people who went through this event, right? The trial I think there was a trial in Israel, right? And these were survivors of that event, and they went for the first time in 20 years, to speak about their experiences, because they had hidden them deep in their bowels, and they would never speak to their family members about it. It was just too difficult, too hellish, too painful. And then they stood up and they spoke about it, and the whole world was just, this is the first time the whole world heard these accounts, and people were just shocked because they didn't even know how to react, because they didn't understand that those among them could be so evil, the governments could be so evil. My friends, right now you're talking to people, what do they have an agenda? Why would they do this? To think that maybe the government's trying to help you, and this. My friends, people just cannot understand the depths of what is really happening. They can't even imagine. They can't. I want to get to a part. He talks about. Here you go. When evil, for example, is being enacted by our own government, by those who are supposed to have our best interests in mind and are entrusted with our protection, it is intolerable to realize that atrocities are being perpetrated in our name. Thus, the evidence has to be internally denied. My friends, we throw documents at people. We show them this, we show them that. And it's just, they can't absorb this information. They have to deny it. They can't fathom that something so evil might be happening. This works to the Watiko's advantage, right? As it allows them to continue to act out evil in a manner which is denied by and incomprehensible to us. My friends, in this particular case, it's happening all with a smile and with official, the air of officialdom. It's happening under the guises of, what is it called? Double-blind studies and peer-reviewed things, and reviewed by this organization and this body and this bureaucrat and this official and this university, and reputable. Everything is reputable. Reputable evil, my friends. Evil in a reputable costume. Okay? Who are you going for Halloween? I'm going as the reputable man. Okay? See, their evil is so off the radar of our accepted system of morality that it is practically beyond the ability of our legal system to redress. My friends, prime example, we just found out that this Mr. Mousy guy did what he did with gain of function and this and that and the other, and yet, well, we know why nothing's happening to him, apart from the fact that there's people in power who are not going to do anything to him. But my friends, what do you even do? What do you even do with this guy? What do you do? You put him in cuffs? What law? You have to figure out a law that he broke. You have to where do you take him? You take him to the international court who's paid off? Where do you take him? You take him to, I don't know, the FBI, the CIA? Who adjudicates this guy? Who's gonna touch him? What is he gonna do? Who's gonna do something to him? What's gonna be? What's gonna happen? We don't know. We have no idea. Our legal system can't even do anything about it. We have no clue what's flying, right? Just like these people come and they just, create rules on the spot. Most of these rules are against any constitution any free nation has, right? And they just use the excuse of, well, we need to because of, all bets are off, right? We're in a supposed pandemic, which are not even allowing to use therapeutics, right? So, basically, and we're allowing this to happen, my friends. I mean, some of us are not, right? The lawyers are coming, they're trying to sue people, they're trying to this, they're trying to that. My friends, but our legal system does not have the ability to redress. They don't have the ability to hold the people responsible for this whole thing accountable. Whether it's people in a different country or the person sitting for 40 years calling himself, coming in the name of science. Our lack of see, this is where he gets into it. Our lack of imagination for the evil existing and potential in humanity is a direct reflection of a lack of intimacy with our own potential for evil, which further serves to enable the malevolence of Watiko to have nearly free reign in our world. We can't afford to have a concept of evil that is too small. My friends, we forgot. In short, we have forgotten that there are people today who are as evil, if not more evil, than the people that were living during that event that happened. Okay, and it's the same. if you read the book The Banality of Evil by Hannah Arendt, it's not going to be a guy sitting going, yes, yes. It's going to be a person who's coming, with a lab coat, and he's saying reputable things from reputable sources and reputable studies and reputable, peer review, double blind, Youth University, this person, this virologist, this neurologist, you know what I'm saying? That's what it is, my friends. And we're just under the spell, as Jordan Peterson likes to go. You know what I'm saying? Spell. Okay? This is why Jung counseled us to develop an imagination for evil, because being able to imagine the scope of evil that human beings can fall prey to becomes instruments for and act out empowers us to see the evil more clearly. My friends, we basically are just letting it all hang out, right? As it appears both in the world and within ourselves, and thereby deal with it more effectively. Evil devastates any possibility of an intellectual response. The tools of the rational intellect are helpless in coping with the after effects of evil, as it was in preventing it, my friends. Yeah, you talk to people and they just they say things and it just nothing makes sense. In our psychic blindness, we are complicit in the spreading of evil of the Watiko psychosis, a systematic evil whose depth and depravity is beyond the capacity of words to fully describe. Evil ruptures and paralyzes the ability to language our experience, creating a seemingly unbridgeable gap between language and the event it is supposed to describe. So now he's a little bit long-winded. He goes into certain things. I just want to get to another part here where he talks about, one second. Oh, here you go. Okay. One sec, guys. Yeah, my friends are writing. Look how this world is today. Mass shootings in our schools, unheard of when. Oh my God, this is like a whole long. Oh my goodness, when I went to school. Why today? Taking guns won't solve the problem. Criminals can get them from cartels, which the demon rats let in from the southern border. Hell, the demon rats might even be getting a kickback from the cartels. Drugs is the only thing they smuggle in. If a sick demon rat wants a kid to play with the right money, the cartel will provide for the pervert. If a school kid can get drugs, there's a whole thing about everything these guys are doing. Yeah, my friends. I mean, yeah. Parents no longer interact with their children. Guys, I know that's for sure. Give them a cell phone and they'll be quiet all day. No more playing outside, no more dodgeball. A poor little kid might get hurt. Society has changed. We have a permissive society where anything goes, and now we are seeing the results of this liberal permissive society. Mass shooting that is better than a liberal permissive society, and we now have a mental illness that is killing us. Isaiah. Woe to those who say of the evil that it is good, and of the good that it is evil, who present darkness as light and light as darkness, who present bitter as sweet and sweet as bitter. Yeah, that's what it is, my friends. See, he talks about aspects of light and darkness. I mean, this is basically Kabbalah. He talks about the day, not the demonic, but the daemonic. Daemonic is a quantum phenomenon in that it contains both the light and dark aspects of our being encoded within it, a superposed state, which is to say that hidden within the daemonic are the creative seeds of its own positive transformation and transfiguration. Both constructive and destructive forces are present in the daemonic simultaneously, and either energy can potentially gain the upper hand and manifest, depending on how an observing consciousness interacts with it. If the daemonic is not honored and treated religiously, however, it constellates negatively and turns demonic, in the destructive sense of the word. The daemonic is made up of inchoate creativity, not yet made real or actualized by the ego. Hidden in the daemonic is our inner voice, or as my friend likes to say, our still small voice, our guiding spirit, our angel, and our genius, what is referred to as our daemon. So basically, it's like our intuition, essentially. Encoded with our daemonic is our creative potency, which, if distorted, misused, or unexpressed, becomes self and other destructive. Developing a healthy and strong ego is crucially important in entering into a relationship with and creatively expressing the daemonic energies within us. Unrealized creativity is one of the most destructive things in the human psyche. The creative artist is able to express, mediate, alchemically transmute, and humanize the daemonic into a communicable form that is beneficial for others, thus performing an invaluable and necessary service for human society. My friends, the people that are involved in the stuff that I'm reading about, the people that are involved in turning us into virtually nothing, unfortunately, You know, these people have absolutely nothing to do with. They have nothing to do with life. You know, they're constantly talking about death. They're constantly talking about fear and death. You know, again, this guy yesterday, he went on the program, Lex Friedman, and he goes, what did he say? He said something along the lines of, oh yeah, these are the same people that are making, you know, misinformation and profiting from it are the ones that are stirring anxiety in the people. And I'm sitting there, I'm watching this, and I'm just like, you're accusing, you, Mr. Shmurla, CEO of Schmeiser, are accusing other people of stirring anxiety in people. The people that are, you and others like you, are running around saying, creating panic, saying that these people are going to die and these people are going to die if they don't do this and they don't do that. You know, we have one of the best medical systems in terms of quality of care in the world, and we have not one out-of-hospital protocol for how to deal with this issue before you get to a hospital. Apart from the schmacks. Apart from that, my friends. And when you come with something that works, and it does work, there are things that work, okay? Oh, no, it doesn't work, and this, and there haven't been reputable this, and there haven't been reputable that. Yeah, I know, it's just anecdotal, kind of real-life examples of things that work. God forbid you use real-life examples. I mean, I don't know. It has to pass through the church, your church, you know? If it doesn't pass through your church, then you're it's not worth anything. Guys, it's just the level of... I was just sitting there watching this yesterday. Those of you guys want to watch it, on Lex Friedman's program, the CEO of Schmeiser, this Shmurla guy. And I'm watching this and I'm just like, my God, this is like the ultimate... It's like a 1 hour long, what do they call it? A gaslighting job. I mean, it's just incredible. It's just incredible. I was really just like, I didn't even know what to say. I mean, I didn't know what to say, but I was just like, wow, this guy is amazing. He's really been trained for the media, huh? It's incredible. But anyway, 1 second. Oh, okay, this is all. See, now I want to read to you guys. There's a chapter here. I actually didn't even read it yet, but I want to read it to you for the first time with you guys. It talks about. Oh wow, this is amazing actually. Basically, it's called Under a Collective Spell, Collective Psychosis. Okay, here you go. It's relatively. It's not too long. I'm going to skip around, you know. And then we'll probably, finish up there. Yeah. Under collective spell, collective psychosis. The Watiko collective psychosis is a field phenomena and needs to be contemplated as such. The field itself is not a separately existing thing, but a dynamically evolving living process in which we are all participating and simultaneously creating and being created by. So it goes into a little bit kind of technical terms. Just 1 second. Here you go. The psychic epidemic known as Wetiko needs to not be viewed through the lens of the fragmented and fragmenting separate self. He's a little bit long-winded here. Here, 1 second. Because these are little technical terms of a kind of a psychiatrist. Why would you waste what? To listening to the book? Oh, no, I just want to listen. I didn't waste an hour. I skipped through to answer your question. I wanted to see really. What Lex Friedman is he is himself a robotics guy and an AI guy, I think at MIT. He's a very smart guy, he's a Russian Jew. He has very interesting people on, and he had the CEO of Schmeiser on, and I wanted to see what kind of questions he would ask. He did ask the questions that people are asking, he just didn't press hard enough, and he kind of a little bit let him off the hook. That was the disappointing part about this thing. I wanted to see what kind of questions he would ask. And I wanted to see how this guy would answer and wiggle and manipulate and gaslight out of those questions. I wanted to see what he would say. All right. Okay. To continue. Okay. This guy is talking. See, he's a little bit long-winded here. Okay. 1 second, guys. I apologize. So I didn't read this chapter yet. I'm just doing it with you guys here. He's he's a psychiatrist or a psychologist. He's very long-winded. Here you go. And we spoke about this before. We spoke about this from the perspective of Dr. Desmet, the guy in Belgium, where he's talking about free-floating anxiety, right? So people don't know where their anxiety is coming from, and so the media or whomever comes along and give it an attribution, and then they give them the solution for that, where that's coming from, where they told them it's coming from, apparently, right? Whenever the contents of the collective unconscious become activated, they have an unsettling effect on the conscious mind of everyone. When this psychic dynamic is not consciously metabolized, not just within an individual, but collectively, the mental state of the people as a whole might be well compared to a psychosis. Jung never tired of warning that the greatest danger that threatens humanity is the possibility that millions of us can fall into our own unconscious together and reinforce each other's blind spots, feeding a contagious collective psychosis in which we unwittingly become complicit in supporting the insanity of endless wars. There's one example. My friends, again, you come to people and you tell them this, that, and the other. They are looking for others like them to confirm their insanity. Okay? This is unfortunately an exact description of what is currently happening. This guy's writing in 2013. Let's look at how we are using our energy. We are literally investing our resources. He's talking about, the energy crisis. Developing engines of mass destruction so as to keep ourselves safe and protect ourselves. In the process, we are destroying each other, ourselves, and the biosphere, the life support system of life on Earth that we depend upon for our very survival. We are literally feeding and supporting our own genocide. Guys, it's interesting, what Ephraim and I talk about all the time is how, you guys probably heard of these Tic Tac UFOs, and there's these stories of Navy pilots and Navy people in the Navy basically saying that these things have the ability to basically disarm these very weapons that we're developing, that we think that we have armed, and we have all these secret codes, and it can't be activated without a football, the whole bag, and the secret code, and the president, and this president, and that prime minister. These people are just, people, these entities are just coming, and they're, going, boo, just power everything down in a second, right? It's interesting how that reconciles with what I'm reading. Our greatest resource, our own mind, is continually being polluted and corrupted by the massive propaganda engines of Watiko, of the Sitra Achra, right? That have become incorporated within our Watiko-saturated culture and internalized within our own minds. What modern-day humanity is confronted with, to quote the Trappist monk and social activist Thomas Merton, is a crisis of sanity. First of all, my friends, Shmo Miron, has killed about as many people. I mean, it's killed a bit more than Alec Baldwin now, maybe 10 or 20, whatever. Not whatever, but you know what I'm saying? We're going insane. If you guys ever see the old, Crazy Eddie commercial, Crazy Eddie electronics store, prices are Crazy Eddie, where prices are going insane. My friends, we're going insane. We're going insane for nothing, for literally nothing. See, the problems of the nations are the problems of mentally deranged people. Take a look at CNN, okay? But magnified 1,000 times because they have the full straight-faced approbation of schizoid society, schizoid national structures, schizoid military and business complexes. My friends, take a look at Exhibit A, Where I Live, Israel. Okay? And also take a look at other governments around the world. In his own language, Burton was describing and attempting to illuminate Watiko. The part of us that is colluding in the creation of collective psychosis, like Watiko, is the part of us that is mad, for why else would we be doing this? To the extent we're not fully awake, we each have a part of us that's mad, which gets acted out in our life. How can we not have a part of us that's mad, living in a world gone mad, a world that is not separate from, but rather a reflection of ourselves? The part of us that thinks we don't have a mad part is itself our mad part. Guys, I always say, the people who are I always meet people who are crazy, but they think they're normal. Those are the crazy ones. The people like myself who know they're weird and crazy are the normal ones, right? Who at least have a self-awareness. It's all about self-awareness. The part of us that thinks we don't have a okay. It is only by confronting what is insane and inhuman in ourselves, however, that we become truly human. Okay, I didn't read this part. My friend's saying protests are becoming more intense in Israel. Look what happened to Ranana today compared to the protests in by the Hagim. Yeah, listen, people were getting whacked by the cops on. Listen, my friends, in Israel, unfortunately, guys, I love Israel. I love the land, but guys, the government, these guys, they get on horses and they got their, This is something that started in the settlements. When they were evacuating Migron, places like Migron, Amona, and they're just cops or these whoever come Yasamniks, whatever they called it, on the horses, and they just beat the crap out of people. Are their own people. This is like a Jew beating a Jew with a stick. You know what I'm saying? For protesting or for, I don't know, not wanting to leave his home. Like, guys, I mean, and this is sanctioned by the Prime Minister of Israel at any given time, whoever it is. I mean, it was for a very long time, it was Bibi. Before it was someone else. Now it's Bennett, who's even worse. You know, guys, I mean, you know, crazy. Anyway, okay, here goes on. Here you go. We are currently in the midst of the greatest epidemic sickness known to humanity. My friends, again, this book was written, I just want to make sure, in 2013. Like a fish in water who doesn't recognize water because it is everywhere, both outside and within the fish itself, many of us don't realize the collective insanity in our midst, as our madness is so pervasive that it has become normalized. My friends, I went to an event yesterday, and there are certain people that wouldn't show up because of this thing, because of the psychosis of this thing, and you tell them there's like, you know, protection and shmantashmatis, and people are this and people are that. Nobody cares. They're crazy. We have conditioned to accept as normal the fact that we are in an endless war, and innumerable of our brothers and sisters all over the planet are impoverished and dying of starvation every day. It is important to realize that in a psychic epidemic, the majority of people can appear entirely normal. The fact that the underlying psychic roots of the collective psychosis are not even part of our planetary dialogue is itself a telling expression of the depth of the consciousness induced by the psychic epidemic. That the mental health community, which should be concerned with psychic hygiene, both personal and collective, is not even addressing the issue of rampant collective psychosis, is a clear indication that the mental health community itself is embedded in and hence infected with the very psychic epidemic it should be studying. By not recognizing the nature of Watiko disease, the mental health community has become its unwitting agents helping the disease to propagate. What clearer sign do we need of psychic epidemic than when our mental health system itself, whose job is to study, monitor, and deal with such phenomena, not only doesn't recognize that there is a collective psychosis running rampant in our society, but it is itself infected with it. Ultimately speaking, it's not like you always say, the shrinks are crazy, right? Ultimately speaking, it's not a question of integrating Watiko disease into the existing diagnostic manual, but rather of radically expanding, leveling up, and revisioning our understanding of the nature of both health and illness relative to each other. Guys, listen, I've been saying, I said this many times, I have a psychiatrist friend, and I once told him, you know, man, don't you think, I asked him a question, don't you think that these drugs you're prescribing to patients, whatever it is a mask? You know, what they have is actually a spiritual problem manifesting itself, that manifests itself physiologically, right, or chemically. And he told me, yeah, I agree with you, but if the medical profession acknowledged that, or if my particular specialty acknowledged that, then I'd be out of a job. He admitted this to me, that I'd be out of a job, you know, meaning medication management, right, guys? If they figured out a way how to actually tackle the issue instead of masking it with drugs, okay? And if just managing it, right, you know, it's called conflict management, not resolution, right? Then he'd be out of a job. Or maybe he'd have to figure out a different way how to treat people, right? I don't know. But that's very, you know, he told me that's very, what you're talking about is very esoteric. It can't be quantified. It's very metaphysical. I said, yeah, you're absolutely right. And do you know what Nikola Tesla, you know, the scientist Nikola Tesla said? Here. Nikola Tesla quote. Let's read a quote from Nikola Tesla, the scientist who was basically, here. He basically said, the day, I'm going to read this to you guys twice, so you understand. The day science begins to study a non-physical phenomena, it will make more progress in one decade than in all the previous centuries of its existence. I'm repeating again, guys. The day science begins to study non-physical phenomena like this thing that they can't quantify and it's nebulous and metaphysical and whatever it is, it will make more progress in one decade than in all the previous centuries of its existence. So it's just a matter of wanting to, guys. It's really just a matter of wanting to. Okay? So he goes on. Our collective madness has become transparent to us as we see and interpret the world through it, rendering our madness invisible, thereby unwittingly colluding with the collective psychosis while it wreaks incredible death and destruction on our planet. Being transparent, our madness is beyond its mere appearance, which is to say, beyond being apparent. My friends, it goes into stuff like, you point out something about genders and this and that and the other, and this is a problem, right? Or girls come and they say, well, these boys, essentially people who are biological boys, right, are much stronger than us, cannot compete with us because they're just going to kill us. The people that are coming and saying, the girls that are coming and saying this are labeled as transphobe. My friends, it's a madness. It's not even left wing or right wing. It's just madness. It's psychosis. It's people who can't understand logic, can't understand what's in front of the face, what you're saying. It's just insane. It's insanity. Okay? See, it says, the Watiko psychosis is highly contagious, spreading through the channel of our shared unconsciousness. Its vectors of infection and propagation do not travel like a physical pathogen, however. This fluidly moving, nomadically wandering bug reciprocally reinforces and feeds off and into each of our unconscious blind spots, which is how it, non-locally, propagates itself throughout the field. In Watiko, there is a code or logic which infects awareness in a way analogous to how DNA in a virus passes into and infects a cell. My friends, it's interesting. I was thinking about this. It could be the people that took the their entire, this is, genetics, therapy. Something is being changed in there to where people cannot comprehend certain things. You know what I'm saying? You're telling them certain things, and I told this the other day to somebody, and I said, it's almost as if the thing just made you stupid. But it's not stupid. It just made you, not able to process, Forbes concluded that the Watiko disease, the sickness of exploitation, has been spreading as a contagion for the past several thousand years. And as a contagion unchecked by most vaccines, wow, it tends to become worse rather than better with time. More and more people catch it in more and more places, and they become the true teachers of the young. Guys, I'm like, wow. Watiko culture gets taught both at home and in the academy, where people become certified in the ways of its world, and are thus accredited and empowered to spread its corrupting ways on even grander scales with ever vaster and more devastating consequences. My friends, people think that it's a virtue to go, you get that degree and then you go work for this company that may or may not be stealing something, like a financial. And guys, I say this as a person who worked on Wall Street for 10 years, right? Granted, as a trader, not as a investment banker or anything like that, but yeah. People who are channeling the vibratory frequency of Watiko align with each other through psychic resonance to reinforce their unspoken shared agreement so as to uphold their deranged view of reality. Once an unconscious content takes possession of certain individuals, it irresistibly draws them together by mutual attraction and knits them into groups tied together by their shared madness that can easily swell into an avalanche of insanity. My friends, again, the Prime Minister of Israel is locking down the country. Let's read. My friends just sent me this. 1 second. My friend just sent me this. A friend of mine who lives in Israel, but he's currently in the States. Here you go. Ministry of Health announced regarding travel. Israel. Starting at midnight tonight, the United Arab Emirates, Ireland, Norway, Spain, Finland, France, Sweden will be classified as red countries. In addition, the Committee for the Classification of Countries, the committee, my friends, this is something out of like a Kubrick movie, I don't know what. The Committee for the Classification of Countries in the Ministry of Health recommended that the government declare Italy, the United States, Belgium, Germany, Hungary, Morocco, Portugal, Canada, Switzerland, and Turkey. Guys, notice how South Africa, it's not in there. Guys, South Africa's not in there. People are hardly schmaxed over there. Okay? Turkey has red states to take effect Tuesday night / Wednesday, subject to approval by the Knesset committee. And they have a full red country list. All other countries in the world that are not on the red are now orange. An orange country is a country with a severe travel warning, and the Ministry of Health recommends that the public avoid traveling to these countries. Returning from an orange country, schmacks that recover will be able to leave isolation after receiving a negative test result performed from the third day of isolation in Israel, the day of landing in the first day. Whoever is not schmacks that recover will be able to leave the isolation only after receiving a negative test result performed on the day from starting from the 7th day of isolation. Okay. Returning from red countries, protected, according to Ministry of Health, triple schmaxed or recovered, and schmaxed or double schmaxed depending on how long ago, returning to Israel from red countries after performing a PCR test at Ben Gurion Airport and signing the I agree to isolate contract, as if we have a choice, will go into home isolation for 7 days, at the end of which they will be required to perform another PCR test from insulation. Unprotected, not schmaxed, recovered, not fully schmaxed, returnees to Israel from red countries, after performing a PCR test in Ben Gurion, they will be sent to isolation in a hotel. Until the test result is obtained. Okay, I'm there. I'm just okay. I'm good. Thank you very much. If the test result is negative, the above will sign the I agree to isolate contract and be transferred to home isolation to complete the isolation days for 7 days, at the end of which they will be required to perform another PCR test. After a negative answer in this test, the above will be released from isolation. If the test result is positive, the above will remain in the hotel until recovery. My friends, I'm here indefinitely. Thank you very much. I mean, I was planning on that anyway, but I'm here indefinitely. Thank you very, very, very much. Israel, thank you very much, Mr. Yerom Bennett Navat, and have a nice day. Okay, let's continue to read. Here you go. Okay, this is what I wanted to get to. This is the interesting part. Here we go. Here you go. Here you go. The gap. Here you go. The type of person ripe for falling prey to the Watiko infection is usually one whose strings are pulled and manipulated by others, who follows a life path dictated by others and is unaccustomed to think for themselves. Not in touch with their inner guidance, they project authority outside of themselves and become very suggestible to the agreed-upon consensus opinion of the dominant pack, aka the narrative. When we give them away our power, there is always someone bearing the authority of the state, who is more than happy to accept our offering, feeding the insatiable will to power of the shadow, which becomes collectively mobilized. My friends, mass formation. Okay? Masses are veritable breeding grounds for psychic epidemics. Though using individuals as its instruments, evil needs the unconscious masses for its genesis and proliferation on the world stage. In a collective psychosis, people literally stop thinking for themselves and let others think for them, aka those who are trained to read the data, because I'm not capable of reading data, a chart with numbers on it. An educated person. No, we have to let the reputable and the trained and the this and the that, my friends, okay? Like sheep or sheeple who just follow wherever they're being led, even if it's off the nearest cliff. Losing touch with their own discernment and ability for critical thinking, the mass man becomes part of the mindless herd and falls prey to groupthink, whose members codependently enable each other to hold their shared vision of the Tico world. Once the Office of Perception Management, aka misinformation, largely through the corporate mainstream media, convinces a critical mass, my friends, I'm reading something from 2013, convinces a critical mass of people, a particular viewpoint, let's go. There is a consensus or agreement that is reached among the masses as to what is objectively true. Okay, the agreed upon version of reality takes on a weight and momentum of its own, thereby becomes the established dogma, aka religion, aka cult, aka of what is collectively imagined to be really happening. Like a religious truth, it is irrationally believed like an act of faith by its card-carrying members, even if overwhelming evidence points to the contrary. Anyone who doesn't buy into the arbitrarily established story is marginalized and demonized, called either crazy, a conspiracy theorist, or even a terrorist. You're either with us or you're with the enemy, or anti-smexer. Ta-da! Magic. In the words of Joker. My friends, oh my God. I didn't even read this. I didn't expect this. This is a pleasant surprise. This is a pleasant surprise, my friends. Such a group consensus about the nature of reality gets increasingly hard to sustain as time passes. However, as, like a house of cards ready to collapse at any moment, its vision of the world is based on the fundamental error of not being true. Strangely enough, people under the collective enchantment of Watiko become fanatically attached to supporting an agenda that oftentimes is diametrically opposed to serving their own best interest, aka staying alive. This is an outer behavioral reflection of the inner state of being under the sway of the destructive Watiko parasite. Speaking about the rapidly spreading Watiko contagion, Forbes writes, it is spread by the Watikos themselves as they recruit or corrupt others. It is spread by today's history books, television, military training, police training, comic books, pornographic magazines, films, right-wing... Okay, whatever. Fanatics of various kinds of left-wing movements, high-pressure missionary groups, and numerous... governments. All the mainstream culturally sanctioned, corporatized institutions are in the business of indoctrination, telling us what to think and not think, as well as how to think. Our mind is continually being massaged into shape by the prevailing culture. Our true face lifted as our spiritual pockets are picked. Our civilization has become the mouthpiece for the propaganda organ of the disease, entrancing us to buy into its viewpoint as we are bled to death of what really counts. The culture that informs and forms around the Watiko illness is itself a channel of its transmission and growth. If we sign on the dotted line and subscribe to its viewpoint, its life-denying culture will gradually subsume us into itself, enlisting us as its agents who unwittingly do its bidding. This is how the ever-expanding, self-generating psychic empire of collective psychosis works, as it increasingly takes over and approaches full employment. My friends, I just want to read this last part. It's called The War on Consciousness. I mean, there's another part. It's not much longer. And then we'll finish up. Now he gets into it. We are truly in a war. It is not the war we imagine we are in, which is the way our true adversaries want it. It is ultimately and actually not a foreign war against a foreign enemy. It is a war on consciousness, a war on our own minds. I'm going to sound like, what's his name? The guy, it is a war on consciousness, a war on our own minds, Neo. The global war on terror that is being fought around the world is an embodied reflection in the material world of a deeper, more fundamental war that is going on in the realm of consciousness itself. People taken over by Watiko are the human instruments for the transpersonal spirit of evil to colonize and terrorize the world. In Watiko disease, we unwittingly become drafted into being foot soldiers in the war, not on, but of and for terror, my friends. Just look at the news. They're trying to scare the crap out of you. The Watiko parasite feeds on and harvests the emotions of fear and terror. Terror is the essence of its insidious, illusory logic. In Watiko disease, the psyche takes the terror that haunts it from within, and in an attempt to master it, it is unwittingly taken over by it, thus becoming an instrument of terror in the world. We have then become the very thing we most feared, as we psychologically terrorize ourselves, as well as terrorizing the world at large. Watiko is the bug which feeds the experience of terror within our mind and out in the world, fueling one of its more prominent manifestations in our world today. Okay, so he's talking about at that time, war on consciousness. People taken over by Watiko might be petty tyrants at home or at work, but still count among the impoverished and oppressed, wielding no real power at the world at large. What Forbes refers to as the big Watikos, however, are full-blown Watikos who have climbed the Watiko ladder, like Mr. Mousy and Mr. Whatever it is, Mr. Shmurla, these kind of people. Jumped through the Watiko hoops and risen to the Watiko ranks so as to find themselves occupying positions of power where they can influence and control events in our world so as to rig and game the system to their own advantage and to the detriment of everyone else. The big Watikos who control the levers of power, be they super wealthy CEOs of corporations, bank presidents, leaders of nation states, are particularly dangerous because they frame and define the terms of our dialogue by choosing the metaphors which dominate the agreed-upon historical narrative, managing our perceptions through propaganda engines of mainstream corporate media, which they control. Big Watikos in positions of power craft the limits and parameters of our conversation and debate. Watiko is an ideological virus whose means of replication and propagation is through altering the syntax of our ideas. Watiko deviates our mental syntax, the rules of how we form language, thereby distorting our semantics, the meaning we place on our experience of ourselves and the world. Watiko is a semantic disorder, altering the core axioms and interpretive schemas through which the psyche maps its self-created meaning onto its inner and outer experience. Shaping even the meaning we place on meaning itself, the Watiko bug makes it appear that meaning objectively inheres in the outside world rather than realizing that we ourselves are the generators of meaning. My friends, Hashem is within us. You understand? The connection to Hashem is within us. The dveikut, the dveikus. The Watiko virus influences how we spell our words and conjure up our experiences. The thought forms and beliefs that express and represent Watiko is an intrinsic built-in control system, defining the limits of what we imagine our possibilities are as individuals, nations, and the species. Watikoism supports, Sitra Achraism, to simplify for you guys, supports and perpetuates whatever prevailing myths, stories, dogmas, and unholy books reinforces nefarious, evolution-inhibiting, and explicitly self-serving agenda. Though seemingly self-serving, it is ultimately self- and other-destroying. Books and other forms of information which don't support Watiko's warped vision of the way things are burned metaphorically. My friends, deplatforming, misinformation, canceling, okay? Or in some cases, literally, the U.S. government actually burned the books of the great healer. Okay, so a psychiatrist called Emotional Plague, Wilhelm Reich, who in describing what he called the emotional plague was in his own way pointing the evils of Watiko virus. I just wonder if I should read it, because he's a little bit long-winded again. Oh, here you go. When Watiko virus takes over a system, whether it be a person's psyche, a group of people, or a nation, it institutionalizes its own perception management system in order to limit, manipulate, and control its subjects' viewpoints so as to maintain the Watikoized ideology. The corporate mainstream media, the Watiko media that is animated, inspired, informed, and employed by Watiko, my friends. It's very glossy, it's very shiny, it's very beautiful, right? Is the propaganda organ of the Watiko virus in the United States, also the world. The Watiko media mesmerizes people by reciting simple, repetitive, hypnotic phrases. The party line. Just get schmaxinated, just get this, just do that, do your part, common good. Guys, I mean, this is like, okay? Our leaders are in essence the talking figureheads and mouthpieces for the Watiko media's marketing campaign of distortion and falsehood bombarded into our psyches on a daily basis. These slogans, repeated again and again, are burned into the receptive subconscious mind with the permanence of an image engraved on a photographic negative. People's minds then become programmed and branded like it's imprinted, right? It's imprinting, anchoring, with the desired ideological virus together with its reality framework. The sacred logos, the word, has been usurped and perverted to become the corporate logo. My friends, I know this because I work in marketing and branding. The media, with wine, the media's talking points, catchphrases, and buzzwords are their incantations which capture the intention of our minds. These magic words act as opiates to the fearful masses. Some of humanity's most horrific acts have been committed under the spell of certain magic words or phrases. This is the power of the word. How do we make a word? We spell it. If we consent to the government-inspired, agreed-upon consensus reality, we are literally subscribing to the collective trance. Consensus reality is itself nothing other than collective spell of massive proportions. People who uncritically see the world through the lens of the consensus reality have no idea that they are under a spell. They just want to be part of mainstream normal society, right? Which is the very dynamic that ensures the strength and perpetuation of the spell. Some of us haven't developed sufficient psychic immunity to be able to ward off toxic effects of the covert, fear-based psychological warfare waged by the powers of evil. My friends, it's called intuition. It's called maybe even Ruach HaKodesh. It's called certain levels of, certain understanding, okay? People who are not fully in touch with themselves and therefore haven't developed their own center of independent thought, self-reflective awareness, and ability to discriminate are highly suggestible to being manipulated, be it by Watiko-inspired forces outside in the world, or within their own psyche to take on a viewpoint other than their own. People's ability to discern truth from fiction has been crippled and rendered inoperative by the Watiko media's pattern of routinely taking liberties with the truth. Government propaganda has inverted the perception of what is actually happening. Lies are presented as truth, and up is portrayed as down, in a truly Orwellian universe of confounding doublespeak. My friends, I said it before, it's not even doublespeak at this point, it's triple and quadruple and quintuple speak. I mean, it's mind-numbing. Here. friends. I want to read to you something alone. Okay. This is the last portion of this. I mean, he's a very little long-winded. If our world were a dream or fairy tale, we could say that there's a curse or a spell that has befallen our land. Watikos charm people, disarming and entrancing them so that people will trust them and give away their power to them. My friends, again, the Shmurla guy. There's no reason to not trust, it's been vetted, it's been tested, it's been this, it's been that. Right? He just went into it, and it's like, you want to believe the guy. I don't believe the guy. Some people believe the guy. Whatever floats your boat. Doesn't float my boat. I could float him on a boat. Okay. The big Watiko's most effective weapon is sustaining a climate of fear and intimidation, as they accuse others of creating a climate of fear and intimidation. Okay. They hook people through their unconscious blind spots, and by playing with their fears, which is how they are able to control and manipulate others. Like a black magician, the powers that control the Watiko media prey on and feed off our hopes, needs, and fears so as to drain us of our power and codependently entangle us in their web of deceit. By inducing a primitive emotion such as fear, Watikos depotentiate the linear logical part of the brain and speak directly to the reptilian-dominated right part of the brain, which is pre-verbal and has to do with our primal animal survival instincts. Mass psychology then becomes the order of the day. As our species animated by fear, which the big Watikos are only too happy to cultivate, Mr. Mousy and Mr. Shmurla reverts to the primitive psychology of the herd. Collective amnesia ensues, continually fed by a self-generating web of endless denial and refusal to see, as the manufactured consent is recreated anew and repeatedly enforced every moment. Our programmed refusal to see reality, our own ignorance, is the chief door in our lives through which the evil of Watiko enters. Once entranced, just like the members of a cult, ta-da! Magic. People give their power away and become passive and subservient, incapable of discerning what is real, what is made up. Yeah, they give their power away to their friends who are doctors. I'm not trained to read the data. I don't know. Propaganda is capable of making people believe both everything and nothing at the same time, as political theorist Hannah Arendt has observed. Our friend Hannah Arendt makes an appearance. Hello. Once the Watiko media captivates our attention, it captures a part of our self-reflective, discriminative awareness, thereby restricting the range of our conscious awareness, which is the signature of a master hypnotist. Once the attention of the masses become entranced, the corporate government media can then play with our minds by feeding us a fabricated version of reality that directly serves the big Watiko's interests. Schmeiser, Shmamurna, you know the rest. The Watiko media, because it dominates the way majority of us receive our information, like iron fillings aligning themselves around a magnet, conform to the desired viewpoint. This unholy trinity of corporate government media, aka the corporatocracy, can create an obsessive fixation on certain superficial, sensationalized events that seize the collective imagination. Look how many deaths! My friends, okay, let's look at how many deaths from the thing you're telling us to take. Oh no, we forgot. You hit that number. We don't know the exact number. You're not even reporting it. You're telling us that system is BS. Everybody I talk, that's okay. So that system is BS. So what system are we supposed to go by? The CDC put that out. So the CDC is BS or what? Who's BS here? Like what? What? Tell me what's not BS and tell me what's BS. And be consistent. Don't talk out of your two sides of your mouth. You know what I'm saying? I could see it immediately in front of my face. Astounding. If we become too fascinated by, absorbed in, or reactive to the current play of the body politic as it performs in the national and world theater, it's as if we have fallen for a magician's deception. We could then potentially become distracted and take our attention away from the deeper process employing our ruling class. Like a magician or evil wizard, the people behind the scenes create smoke screens to divert the public's attention from what they are really doing. This is an outer reflection of how the Watiko bug, once it takes over an individual psyche, works its black magic of deception. If we fall under the spell being cast, we then marginalize, don't engage with, and don't notice the underlying corruption, which those in overt positions of power are both an expression of and smokescreen for. What do you mean? It's like a conspiracy and stuff? Ooh. By not engaging with the real power lines which underlie what is manifesting in our world, we give away our power to effect real change. We become spellbound by the outer manifested forms of the universe. I just want to, because he's again kind of repeating the same kind of things in different words. Here you go. Here you go. When a group of people or a nation falls into a mass psychology together, this collective fascination is a form of mass possession or madness whose underlying psychological dynamic breeds fascism. If we fall under the spell of Watiko media, we are then colluding with the forces of Watiko as we enable each other to act as an unconscious, unspoken, collective decision to abrogate our power, to creatively and consciously invent our world. When we fall prey to the denial that is endemic to a society riddled by Watiko, we hold contradictory viewpoints simultaneously, while splitting off from the underlying contradiction, which is self-induced, trance-like, disassociated state, in which we have fixated our attention, restricted our own awareness, and desensitized, hypnotized ourselves. My friends, people cannot understand that that the way that a product is presented or pushed or coerced speaks to the product itself. You know, it's like the people that say, well, yeah, I mean, I myself have taken this crap, put it in my body, but I'll tell you, yeah, I don't agree with these mandates. My friends, but don't you understand with your stupid brain, sorry, I'm going to spill tea on my computer right now, that the people who are doing this, the way that they're doing it, everything by that speaks to what they are trying to give you. Do you understand? If what they were trying to give you was good, they would be doing it in a good way, not in the way that they're doing it. Ah! Are you stupid? Are you stupid? Are you stupid? Oh! Sorry, I gotta take a breather here. I can't. In the words of my mother, I hate stupid people. I hate them. When we fall prey to the denial that is endemic to society ruled by Watiko, we hold... This complex array of mental maneuvers involves both conscious and unconscious elements. Also, my friends, I have friends who know that the media and this whole corporatocracy and Watiko thing is lying to them on every single issue except for this one, which is probably the biggest one. What's the deal with these people? Going to Seinfeld mode now. In his 1949 novel, 1984, George Orwell called this mind-splitting activity doublethink, to hold simultaneously two opinions which cancelled out, knowing them to be contradictory and believing both, to forget whatever is necessary to forget, then to draw it back into the memory again at the moment when it was needed, and then promptly to forget it again, and above all to apply the same process to the process itself, consciously to induce unconsciousness, and then once again to become unconscious of the act of hypnosis you had just performed. Ah! Ta-da! Magic. This is a very apt description of the covert auto-hypnotic operations taking place within the Watiko's mind. Once we have fallen prey to doublethink, we have then taken in and internalized within ourselves the psychological operations needed to exist within a culture of Watiko, resulting in a chronic and unavoidable state of cognitive dissonance within our own minds. Okay. Now just getting into this whole thing. Oh, this is with the kicker here, and then we'll be done, guys. It can be hard to recognize someone afflicted with Watiko, for when someone is a carrier of Watiko, the person can seem completely normal, even more normal than so-called normal people. Watikos can present a more convincing picture of virtue than virtue presents of itself. In the same way that a wax rosebud or a plastic peach can seem more perfect to the eye than the imperfect original from which it was modeled, like a plastic flower. It is not uncommon for full-blown Watikos to be pronounced perfectly sane by our psychiatric system, which is a striking expression that our mental health system is itself. Like somebody like a mousey or a shmurla can be, you could say that they're a normal person, which they're not. These people they got issues. The majority of Watikos are not in asylums, but are freely running around out in the world, often at times established in positions of great power to influence events. They can appear to have a thoughtful, reassuring, reasonable, and even keeled demeanor. White coat, suit. I'm just adding this. They can be quite charming, frequently having the seductive confidence of someone who is fanatically identified like the typical fundamentalist with only one side of an inherently two-sided polarity. Falling victim to one's own deception can have a mesmerizing effect on others, as Watikos appear so sure of what they are saying that they are able to project this conviction onto others, like this Mr. Shmurla, who was speaking on Lex Friedman's show yesterday, or 2 days ago. Nothing has such a convincing effect as a lie one believes oneself, or an evil deed or intention whose righteousness one regards as self-evident, like Mr. Schmates, who thinks it's a virtue to get rid of all these people because we're going to save the earth that way. Okay? Only someone who is gripped by an archetypal power greater than their own ego has a gripping and suggestive effect on others. A Watiko's talent for hypnotizing others is proportional to the extent that they themselves are hypnotized by their own garbage, their own BS. Because only a convinced person is immediately convincing, through the effects of psychic contagion, they exercise great influence on their contemporaries. My friends, but this, I want to read actually one quick one. He makes an analogy here. Here he goes. Taking over. Again, it's like a little long-winded. It's kind of the same things. Yeah. He talks about this unconscious gripping us. Anyway, guys, astounding, right? This was written in the 2013, and it speaks to what's going on today. I mean, there's more about. He talks about like how to get rid of this thing and whatever it is. He goes more into it, into the just psychological aspects, whatever it is, and how to beat it ultimately. My friends, how to beat it. I forgot to mention this. I think I mentioned this last time. The poet Emily Dickinson. On a simple level, you guys could talk to your friends when you talk to your friends and family. The poet Emily Dickinson had a wonderful, very, very short poem about the truth. She basically said, "Tell the truth, but tell it slant. Success in circuit lies," meaning like your success is going to be when you so to speak circuitously. You talk circuitously. Too bright for our infirm delight, the truth superb surprise. As lightning to the children eased, with explanation kind, the truth must dazzle gradually, or every man be blind. My friends, people can't handle it. It's like the movie Few Good Men. You can't. I want the truth. You can't handle the truth. Guys. I mean, yeah, people can't handle it. They literally can't see what's being presented in front of them. It has to be told to them in drip drops. They have to see certain things on their own. Meaning, they have to see what the governments are doing. They have to see what is happening in society to other people. They have to see how basically what kind of they're coercing us into doing doesn't actually even work in the long term. It works in the short term. It doesn't work in the long term. Not only that, it obliterates our ability to fight things. It obliterates our system, unfortunately. Not only that, they'll see. Eventually they'll see that there are other other solutions rather to this issue. And people don't even necessarily have to end up, so to speak, in the hospital. That's what we're trying not to have people do. But again, guys, this is going to take time, B'ezrat Hashem, and guys, I really hope that people get out of this stupor, out of this. The biggest issue is this hypnosis. The people got under, and again, I always say the people that concern me the most are not the people who are already always asleep to every single thing, and it doesn't matter what the issue is, and they're asleep no matter what. The people that I'm concerned about are the people that see the problems with when it comes to every other issue, with the media, with the with the politicians, corporations, but they cannot apply the same, not standard, but they basically cannot apply that whole rubric to this issue, which, if anything, you would think that they would apply it to this one. But my friends, you see how people have just been sucked into this, what these native North Americans called Watiko, which, we call essentially the Sitra Achra. And it's incredible. It's really incredible. And, moreover, the people that are trying to pull the wool over our eyes, they believe their own BS. This guy sat up there, this Shmurla guy, sat there in front of Lex Friedman, and he's talking about this and that. This has been... Guys, you know what? I'm going to end up with something funny. You guys know the comedian Jim Brewer. He used to be on SNL a long time ago. He played Goat Boy for one character. That was his recurring character. But he also played a character called, he played Joe Pesci. And he does a mean AC/DC impression. But what I want to show you is his stand-up routine. I just want to show you part of a stand-up routine. It's about 10 minutes long. Jim Brewer. Here. Common Sense COVID comedy. I want to show you his. It's very, very, very funny, and it speaks in a funny way to everything I just read. So let's get into it here. Hold on a second. Let me just flip over here. Hopefully they won't give me a copyright strike on this, but I don't really care. Actually, you know what? Yeah,
Ladies and gentlemen, please stand here, bait and greet. Jim Brewer.
It's a little corny, but whatever.
One more time, let's hear for Jim Brewer.
There's like visuals, guys. You have to see.
Good evening. Good to, yeah. This is, you're right. He's right there. Look at him. He's right there. Don't judge me, by the way. I'm going to look like this the whole time. This is God's funny joke on me. I came out of the womb, looked blasted from the minute I came out. And the sad part is, my kids look worse than I do.
Hey, let me fast forward to the part where he starts talking about what's it called?
Human history.
Here.
This is like the greatest evil voodoo trick in human history. You can't tell me this is not going to be a Broadway play in 3 years. Just laughing in our faces.
He's great.
6 foot safe. 5 foot danger. 6 foot safe. 5 foot danger. Stay 6 foot. I'm 5 foot danger coming to breathe on you.
The faces and the sound effects are like.
I'm the Grand Marketer. It's the craziest thing I've ever seen in my life. And they bring out the governors. We have no rules and regulations.
Oh yeah, baby. He ain't joking. That's the funny part. He ain't joking.
We shall determine who is essential. And we will determine who may have a chocolate muffin.
God. Dear Lord.
And the people buying into it, it's not their fault. This is brainwashing. And everyone's a doctor now. Everyone's an expert in the house, right? No, you don't understand. I know the facts. I researched it. I'm telling you right now. They don't know facts. No, you understand. People, you understand what's going on. You're not taking it seriously. I love that one. You're not taking this seriously. Are you taking it seriously? You know? And it's really, you know what it's become? You know what a cockatoo is? A cockatoo, like,
This is the funny.
And that's what everyone's become. Little cockatoos staring at the screen. Facts and figures, facts and figures. Dr. Fauci, Dr. Fauci. Trust the science, trust the science. Specialist, numbers going up, 1 mask, 2 masks, vaccinated, double
Holy
The
shnikes.
demons.
Oh, yeah.
The power of fear.
Watiko, my friends.
What's he doing? Omicron? With
Oh, my God.
this is a Godzilla movie now?
Mm-hmm.
Sire, people have been enjoying themselves with a little too much freedom lately. They do not fear enough. How's the Delta not doing what we expected? The numbers are not helping. Send them to Omicron. Isn't that premature, sir? Stop the propaganda! The Omicron! The Omicron! The Omicron! The Omicron! The Omicron! People of Japan, do not Omicron! People of Germany, Omicron has been spotted in Omaha.
That's amazing.
I don't care if you've been vaccinated or you got the booster shot. Put the elderly back in the basement. I'm the Omicron. Omicron! Omicron! You need to take it seriously. This is real.
God. Dear Lord.
It's so dangerous. It's such a mass killer. But you're allowed to fly. I flew here. I want you to think about that. I want you to think, if you have any fear, you're flying. I'm flying. And that's enough. They start with that programming as soon as you walk in the terminal. And they're just nice about it. Hey, everybody.
Hey, everybody.
Help stop the spread.
Yeah, help stop spread. 2 weeks supposed to.
You don't want to be that person, do you? Out there killing children and elderly. What's wrong with you? Wear your mask at all times, above your nose now. I like this one. Make sure you wash your hands for 20 seconds with soap. Oh, thank you. I never knew how to do that. I used to just go there and look at the sink and go, okay, I'm done.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you, government, federal speaker, guy, woman.
Guy, woman? Yeah, it is a guy, woman. Oh, yeah.
Make sure you stay 6 feet at all times. Yeah, until you board the plane. Have you boarded a plane yet?
God, what a bunch of BS. Holy flip.
Let the science and the Omicron go. We don't bother with that boarding plane stuff. We're looking for elderly and children. Where's the unvaccinated? Are you getting any of this? There you go. Let them teeth shine, brother. You hold that in, it's going to come out the wrong end. You don't want that to happen. You saw it, right? You laughed and went, Still stiffing me. Look at
This
it.
guy's got like, he's
Nothing.
like a poor man's Jim Carrey, this guy.
That's how it, yeah, that's... Yeah, look, just the concept I mean, now I'm on the plane. Think about that. You're on the plane. You're in a tube. Okay? That they shut the door. Now you're in a tube. 6 foot safe, but I'm sitting next to someone right here. And right here, with the air. But I'm safe because we got a mask on.
Lord,
Meanwhile, the poor human next to me is belting at least 3 and change. Not that I'm judging, but he's got cholesterol pills. He's struggling, breathing heavy. I had to walk 7 gates to get here. Thank God we're safe with the mask. And then the inspectors, make sure you put it above your nose, on your mouth at all times. Mm-hmm. This is a federal law, and you may never fly again if we catch you. You're subject to penalties of the federal law. Oh, it's snack time. You can take your mask off.
Oh, my God. Yeah, exactly. Idiots. Not them. Faxadoodles. God.
Trust the science.
Exactly.
Trust the experts. Nothing to see here. I will determine who gets a muffin.
Exactly. Clown show. God. Ridiculous.
I never see anything like that. I live in Florida. That's another thing. Yeah, I moved to Florida. I lived in New Jersey. I'm a refugee. I am. I parachuted in. Texas, Arizona, you see people coming in the air. Just cut the strings right here. Are we safe? Are we allowed to think for ourselves? Is that still legal? Is God and common sense still rule? Please tell me yes. Thank you, Florida. It's hot in the summer. I'll take swamp butt any day of the week. The power of fear. And that's another thing. I got friends up north, northeast, they're like, hey man, is Florida okay? I hear it's really bad.
This is the kicker.
Hey, my friends think like people walk around Florida going, thank God we moved. The hospitals are overrun. Run for your lives. Double vax, triple vax. Get it now. Meanwhile, they come visit. They're the ones on the beach. On the beach! With no one around them. Well, you never know if it's flying in the wind.
God. Morons.
Was COVID a new superhero flying across the ocean? COVID man, flying across the sea, looking for the unmasked, unvaccinated.
Schmucks.
You're not taking it seriously.
Astounding.
You know, I don't know. I mean, I do know. I'm just baffled. Thank God